Hello and welcome to Libby's Day School video from Thursday. So we started off with a 10-minute session of sit on the dog, which is a modified session because I'm not going to sit there for 30 to 40 minutes and expect you to pay me for just sitting there. So we started off with about 10 minutes for her to kind of gather herself. You'll see she goes through the motions of laying down, but she's still scanning the environment. She's still panting. She still gets up and jumps on me and looks for pets and looks for things to do. The ideal would be that she settles and maybe rests her head on the floor, isn't panting, isn't scanning the environment so heavily. Then we stood up to start leash walking, but she was quite lacking in engagement. So this is something that we will start doing outside as well for leash walking, is letting her hit the end of the leash and kind of look at her environment and then choose to check back in with us. And when she does choose to do so, then we will treat her. Then we worked on rewarding for a heel position and getting her into that position. I don't know if she has this trained already or not, but you just lure her around with a piece of food to your side. And then we worked some with a piece of food as a lure, but not right to her nose. So the idea is to follow that lure, and it's going to be enticing to jump towards it, but she doesn't get it when she jumps towards it. It's important that I don't pull it away. But if she does that undesirable behavior, we just don't reward for it. We just keep walking, and then when she walks in a heel and follows that food lure, she can have that treat, and when she sits next to us or stops walking, when we stop walking, she can have that treat. So that should help with the jumping a little bit, just because she doesn't get rewarded when she does jump, but then the alternate behavior is walking next to us, and she does get rewarded. Then we did some confidence building. So I got some random objects from around the room. She lacks confidence when approaching new things or new scenarios. And if you want to actually see her body language and how we worked through it in not 2 times speed, YouTube has the option to slow the video down to 0.5 speed, so you can watch that too. I just speed it up because I don't really like sending day school videos that are longer than 10-15 minutes. But there's a fine balance between letting her investigate all by herself or encouraging her to investigate with treats and praise. You can kind of see when I do each of those. So if it's something that she chooses to interact with herself but is still anxious about, like the rocking horse, I will let her interact by herself, and then once she makes good strides in her confidence, I'll reward her for that. But if it's something that she doesn't generally care about to explore, like these boxes or that orange rufflin topper, I will ask her to do something like, I didn't ask her to place, but I guided her onto it like a place. And then with these boxes, I put treats inside, and I just let her figure out how to get the treats. So the confidence building is being able to stick her head in the box, and then eventually climb into the box. And it's just about her level, so it does take a little bit of confidence to do so. But I want her to succeed on her own with as little input from me as possible. But obviously this is a simulated situation because there's no reason that she would just normally get into a box if there's not food in it. And then once she's in the box, I go ahead and pet her, because she just loves getting pet. So what we're doing is building confidence through experiences. Small, little, short, simulated experiences. And it's as easy as finding boxes in your house that maybe came from Amazon or whatnot. This is all part of self-regulation. I think that if we can build her confidence, that she will be less reactive. Not completely non-reactive, because it's a habit that she's practiced for a long time, and that'll take some counter conditioning. But through these exercises of exploring new things, especially since they're simulated and we can make it less scary if we need to, and kind of work in the moment, that her overcoming things like this will help her mentally to have some resilience when she's out walking or experiencing new things.
What a good girl. What a good girl. Yes.
And you'll see I have her on a leash because she does keep trying to leave. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes I do let the dog check out of training. That's all right. But right now I really want her to overcome her anxieties. And I don't want her to be thinking about what's outside the front door, which is what she's doing because somebody walked past about 10 minutes ago. So I think she's still looking for them. So I want her to be able to focus on the task at hand and succeed at it. Oh, and then she had an eye booger. And I really wanted her to let me get that eye booger because she really didn't want me to. But again, if you do the thing, like let me get your eye booger, then you can have a treat for that. I don't want her to feel stressed about me doing that, especially since she's getting a bath on the day that she goes home. Then we very briefly did door manners. The idea here is simply, if she goes towards the door closes. If I say free, though, and the door is open, then we can go through. And typically I'll try to go through with them, but since that was her first little try at that, I just let her go through because she did pretty decent. And I love the eye contact she gave me. Calmly exiting through a door is the very first step to having a successful walk. So these clips are a little bit long, but I like to show the progression of the leash walking. So as soon as we got outside, she was very distracted, kind of anxious, was not trying to go anywhere specific. She's just looking around, scanning the environment, pacing. She took food the first couple of times I offered it and then stopped taking food. I don't know if it's because she is anxious about you arriving and maybe she was expecting you to come back to pick her up, or if it's just because the environment changed, or if it's because there's a road right there. I'm not sure, but what we started off with was what we did inside, which is I just stand in one spot and I let her kind of look at the environment and hopefully get a little more comfortable with it by checking it out. I don't really want to interrupt the scanning at this moment because I think it's based on anxiety. So I kind of just let her do her thing, but if she pulls on the leash and the leash goes tight, I don't move. So she does not get rewarded for the pulling. And then this is the second tactic, which I usually pair these two things in the same session, depending on how the dog is doing. So for this, it's just a whole bunch of U-turns, just walking in place for quite some time until the dog starts to walk next to us. But she is feeling some anxiety, so it's a little harder for her to do this because she's not focused on what we're doing, she's focused on the environment. So I would be using lots of treats here, but she was not taking treats. So we're just going to walk back and forth, and then when she is in the correct position right next to me, you'll see I fix her a little bit there. I will lean down and pet her and make sure she stays in that same position so she knows what she's getting rewarded for. Hopefully she does know what she's getting rewarded for. She does start to pick up on it. But the treats here aren't doing a whole lot of good for us, because you see she takes it and then she just disengages completely from me again. So I am just walking back and forth. If she walks next to me, then we can continue forward. If she darts out ahead of me, then I turn around. I'm not really going to wait for her. I'm just going to turn around. But I'm also not going to, let her yank herself on the end of the leash. I'll wait for her a little bit, especially because she's a little anxious. But you'll see she does start to slow down a little bit. So sometimes with these U-turns, it makes dogs more anxious or more hyper, depending on what they're feeling in that moment. So it may be better to go back to the standing in one spot option and just moving forward when there is no leash tension, and or when they come back to you after feeling that leash tension. And you'll see after a little bit of time, she does start looking up at me and checking in, especially when we turn around. I do like that behavior. Ideally, I would reward for the eye contact. And I do tell her that she's a good girl when she does do that. This is where that backward spatial pressure comes in a little bit. Ideally, I would have just turned around like I have been, but I wanted to see if I walked backwards, if she would rejoin me, and then we could continue forward. But she doesn't have a specific goal. She doesn't want to get to the grass. She doesn't want to get to a specific spot or experience a new part of the environment. She's just kind of existing and pacing and scanning. But then once she does walk with me, she can go and explore that area over there. And verbal praise and then petting her is very important. And if she takes treats, if she's in a more familiar environment, like in your neighborhood, that would be good too for rewarding for eye contact and for being next to you.